Welcome everybody to another episode of Three Dad Bods with Brent, Carl, and Sean. We've got a special old neighborhood guest to add to the fourth Dad Bod on here. We got Glynn Ralph with us. How you doing, man?
Doing good.
Good, man. So guys, good week, poor week, blah blah week. I feel like every time we get back together on a podcast, I get more and more upset on the way things are going in the media. So I've decided just to turn everything off on the media and focus on just life itself. Because I just keep getting so upset with everything that's going on these days, you know?
Well, aren't all men going to be women soon and all women are going to be men? So it just doesn't matter, does it?
Do you want to know my opinion on this?
Maybe.
This is just the life according to Brent here. I think that there is a giant push to stop growth in population. And the way to do that is, number one, push abortions. Number two, what is a woman? We take them completely out of existence and we shame you for thinking that there's anything worthwhile in being a woman. And then encouraging kids to do these god-awful surgeries and everything like that. But sorry, I didn't mean to jump into a tangent on something like that. It's just something that popped in my head there. And it's just been, I mean, doesn't it tick you guys off? Like, maybe we sound like our dads or something, you know, but it's just like, what the hell is going on here, you know?
You don't want to hear what my dad says.
It's definitely not something that I had ever imagined growing up. Sounding like our dads, I gotta tell you, Glenn looks like his dad. I thought we had Dean on here for a minute.
Well, look, Dale.
Yeah,
I mean,
look.
Sean.
I was going to say, you have your mom's frizzy hairdo, so careful there.
I don't look like my dad. Jeez.
Brent always goes to that, Dale.
I know. That's because he loves my dad.
Yeah.
Your dad's awesome, man. Your dad is awesome.
Actually,
Yeah.
Glenn's father just passed away, and I went to the funeral, and that was a really good funeral. Glenn, your dad was a great guy. So,
Yeah, if I had,
Yeah. You know what?
the older I get, the more I look like him. If I could just continue to be like him, I think I'll be all right.
I do too.
Yeah.
I will tell you,
We all agree.
Glenn, the one thing I remember about your dad was one of the most helpful people I have ever known in my life. If anybody needed, if my parents needed anything, your dad was always the first one to volunteer, always the first one there. I've heard several stories where he would randomly just mow people's lawns all the time. He would shovel snow, and he really was a good man, a good person. And your mom is a wonderful person too, salt of the earth.
Joe, she makes me good bread. She always made me bread when I came over. She was awesome.
She always
That was
yelled
kind
at
of
me.
crazy, though. I mean, a little story about him is he was pushing 88, and he was still mowing the neighbor's yard just directly to the west of him. It was like, Dad, you can't be mowing their lawn anymore. Oh, well, why not? Well, the doctor said you can't even mow your lawn. Well, somebody's got to mow the lawn. Yeah. 89, he
It's
was
so
still out there
incredible, man.
edging people's lawns and mowing them. It truly was. I mean, the mantra of the Ralph household is if your last name is Ralph, you serve. That's what you do. And until your last
Right.
name is Ralph, you're going to get out there and do some work, and for other people. And it's not a bad way to live life.
Hey guys,
You know-
I can tell you, I just want to throw in there that since I live down here in Arizona and just a few miles away from Glenn, I can tell you, he's always under somebody's car fixing it. So Glenn, you picked that up from your dad. You're a good man. You've helped countless number of people with your talent. So you're a good dude.
Well, let's tell the audience that doesn't know us as well, our neighborhood, a little more about Glenn and how he fits into our friendship, the three of us, and tell a little bit of his, just kind of get a little of his background in. He also knew Mark Atkinson. We just had a episode about Mark, And so I'd like to, Glenn, are you okay with that? We'll just talk a little bit about
That's fine.
how
Big Red,
how you connected to us,
the
and then
enforcer.
moved to Arizona, and then a little bit about your family, and then we'll go into your story a little more. Does that sound good?
Yeah. So
Okay.
basically, I've been around since day one. Carl and Brent are younger than I am, so I can't say I've
Barely.
known them my entire lives. Not Carl, Sean. Sean and Brent are a little bit younger than I am, but I'm pretty sure we were
You're
around
like
in,
3 days
diapers
older than
together
Carl.
in the 111th Ward. But you guys covered in the past, Carl moved in about the 4th grade, and for some reason we liked him and kept him around.
It went downhill from there.
Yeah, neighborhood really, that was the peak, and it just started going down
It
after
was.
that. You know,
It was like 4th grade, 3rd grade, 2nd grade was awesome, and then
yeah,
God, this fool
yeah.
come in.
So
Okay. Easy.
fortunately for me, or unfortunately for me, I've known all y'all for most of my life.
Yep. Yep.
I have, because I've kept a lot of them awards and stuff that we had gotten through
Oh, I
sports
still
and
have every
everything
one
like
of them.
that. Oh yeah, and isn't that great though? You do you guys remember
Glenn was
like
Glenn was
winning?
Glenn was Kurt Rambis of the 11th Ward basketball team. He was the
You got fire
enforcer.
powers, you got to use them.
But we would win, and you get like a ball, but then like that next Sunday in church, and Paul Bigler going up to the pulpit, and calling us all up there and
Yeah,
handing us that paper and the picture that to us was like there were no participation trophies. You were either a champion or you were a chumpion.
yeah,
And you know I remember hanging those on my wall. I had a whole wall
yeah.
solid of just awards that we won, all of us. It was awesome. It
Why
was
would you do
fantastic.
that, dude? I can't stand the look of you anyway, and having you up on my wall, that would have been, oh man.
Yeah, but I love the look of me, and that's why I had it up there.
Anyway,
Well, when you've always
that's
been
right.
good looking, Carl, it's kind of hard to be humble. So
That's true. It is tough for Brett. Good call, Glenn. Anyway, we all kind of grew up in that ward. You're right. I remember countless days hanging out with Glenn in his backyard, trying to pretend we could dunk the basketball with the and then watching stupid movies downstairs, and
playing
my love of
guitar.
Top Gun. Yeah, I mean, there were some fun experiences that we all had. Then we all grew up, and Glenn decided, it ticked me off at the time, to, well, he got married, first of all, a little earlier than the rest of us, but got started a little sooner. But then he decided to move to Arizona. And I think Mark was Mark down there already, Glenn?
Yep, sure was.
Okay. Tell us what happened. How did Mark help you out? Because I remember you're talking about that in the beginning.
Well, the reason I'm in Arizona is because I needed medical insurance. So we're going to cover a little bit of that today. But I was getting close to being diagnosed with a liver problem, and I needed medical insurance. So I went to my boss at the dealership, and they didn't. It was a small dealership. They didn't offer it, and I says, "Well, I need a raise. I need to pay for it. We can't do that." And I'm like, "All right." So I looked around. I enjoyed working on the Isuzu brand, and so I was looking around. I was like, "Well, maybe my ego is too inflated. Maybe I don't think I'm worth what I'm worth." But I came down here and applied for a couple of jobs down here in Phoenix, and both of them really wanted me for complete benefit package and a $5 an hour raise. And I'm like,
Wow.
So I went back up to Intermountain. I told them, I said, "Hey, I got this deal on the table," and they says, "We can't do anything about it." And I'm like, "Well, I'll let you know when my house is built." So the very next weekend, I came back down again, drove down again, and purchased a house. And here I am in Arizona.
How long have you been down there?
I moved in '97.
Oh wow.
So you've had
Yeah, you're South America.
all your family were born there except for Amanda, right? Your oldest.
None of them were born here.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep. My
Oh,
my youngest girl, she was like a year and a half.
oh. See where I'm at. Sorry, man. Totally out of it. Okay, so yeah, you had a pretty big family when you first moved down there. Then,
Yeah, we had
kind
four
of a
kids.
big, kind of scary, or were you nervous?
Well, Brent's done that. Carl's done it. You move to a city where you know nobody. It's like, but
Good and bad.
but unlike Brent, I mean, yeah, if you're still in the church, it only takes a week before you know everybody, and you have that support system behind you, to where if you needed to call somebody,
Yeah.
you got the phone number right there. So it was a little scary at first, but it was more difficult taking my mom's only grandparent or grandchildren away from her at the time. That did not go well. The wrath of the loon. But
We've all
but
felt
it
the
has
wrath.
been a
of
huge
the-
blessing for us to be in Arizona. I'll tell you that.
That's good, man. That's really good.
So when you were working for a was it Chevrolet dealership at that point, right?
Isuzu.
In Salt Lake,
Or well, no, when you were in Phoenix. This is after you moved there.
it's a Chevy and a Suzu dealership. Yeah.
Okay. So they provided you the health insurance that you needed,
Yep.
and you continued along living life, and then tell us a little bit about the health problems that began to develop, and go into that
Let me
in
tell you
more
a story,
detail.
guys. Hang on. Let me take this for a little while. I'll fill in my life for the last a little bit, and I'll catch you up a little bit here.
Okay.
So, I had donated blood, and that donation of blood came back, said your liver enzymes are bad. You got hepatitis. I'm like, what?
Wow.
So, I got to in the process of getting that diagnosed. And before they threw the diagnosis out there, but it was the time in the era, if you remember this, pre-existing conditions. Your insurance didn't
Yep.
have to cover you all your pre-existings. They could everything else, but the pre-existing they didn't have to cover it. And so they says we don't really want to diagnose you all the way until you have insurance. And that's what led
Wow.
me down to Arizona. Once I got down here, I got diagnosed with what's called a primary sclerosing cholangitis. It's an autoimmune problem that's attacking the liver. So I've known
So
about
let,
this
let me ask you.
disease since I was 27, 28.
Uh-huh.
And it's very slow, very, very, in my case, it's a very slow deterioration of the liver. And it's attacking it. And some people end up getting just primary sclerosing cholangitis. From here on out, I'm going to call it PSC. Okay. So some people can go a very long time, like I have with PSC. Some people, I don't know if you guys remember Tawani Kolb,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Alicia
Mhm.
Gardner's husband. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he ended up dying about 8 years ago of primary sclerosing cholangitis. So, he's a young guy, and it was kind of a reality check to me. It was like, wow, this is real. There's a Chicago Bulls linebacker. I think it's Walter Payton. Is that who it is that has died?
Yeah.
with primary
Chicago
sclerosing
Bears.
cholangitis?
Yep.
Running back.
What's that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Chicago
He's running
Bears.
back.
Walter
Chicago
Payton.
Bears.
Yeah.
Yep.
Greatest of all time.
Yeah.
One of the
So,
goats.
it's uncommon, but unfortunately it's there. And what you do is it attacks the liver so bad that you need a liver transplant, and they put you on the list, and you get your liver transplant, and then you're good for another. They say the average time from diagnosis to transplant is 14 years.
Wow.
You think about that. You think about how slow I am. I
Wow.
still have my original liver in me, and I'm running at 28 years, 25 years since I've been
Wow.
down here. So I've been kind of incredibly blessed.
Half your life.
Yeah, I've been incredibly blessed down here of having a slow reaction to the PSC.
Hmm.
Now,
Yeah.
there is a small chance to get cancer of the liver. That's a that's a it's a cancer that is unbeatable. It was when I was diagnosed with this PSC years ago. They said, "Yeah, you get cancer, you're done." Okay, it's don't get cancer. You'll be all right. But 8 years ago, I was just getting done serving as bishop. So prior to all this, I'm with the gastroenterologist GI guy, GI doctor. He keeps track of me. He's the one that watches me, and every couple of years we do an MRI just to see where we are with the liver and whatnot. And right before I got released as bishop, I'd gotten an MRI, and it was clean, no problem at all. 5 months later, I started feeling bad. I was really dragging. I was at night. I was running fevers, and I was like, "Man, something's not right." And he's like, "Well, let's go get that MRI done." I said, "All right, let's get another MRI." And within 5 months of that last MRI, I was released as bishop, and I now have cancer within 5 months, and it's inoperable. The liver has a portal vein. It has a vein that goes right up the middle of it. My tumor is right on top of that vein, and so they,
Hmm.
in surgery wise, like they take half your liver off, and it'll literally regenerate. But because of the disease that I got going on and the place of the tumor, by the time they got done hacking away at it, I would have no liver left and I'd be dead. So surgery's out of the equation. Surgery was out of the equation, which was huge. And so this is 2015, guys. And
Wow.
so years ago, when I was first diagnosed with this PSC, I was mad. I was mad at the world, and I was just I was mad at God. I was mad at everybody. I was mad at the bum on the street corner that had a healthy liver, even though he's shooting himself up or drinking every night. I pity little things like that. To just see people just going out partying hard every weekend, and they don't have liver problems. Yet the Mormon guy who's never drank a day in his life is over here with a liver problem. It was
Isn't that
I
crazy?
considered that awfully unfair, and I was
Hmm.
mad.
I
And
could totally relate. I completely understand that.
so I was like, all right, God, I can't sit here and be mad all the time. This isn't how I want to live my life. So I bargained with God. I had a heart to heart with God. And I'm going to tell you guys, I'm a strong believer in my faith. I'm still strong in the church. But what I have here to say today is does not matter what faith you are. You do know that as long as there's a God out there and you believe in a God, then we can communicate. But I had a communication with God. I had a heart to heart with him. I said, God, I got 4 kids, and I'm just a young dude. Prolong me long enough to where I can raise my kids so they can see what kind of a goofball I am, see what I'm about, and so I can enjoy them and they can enjoy me and they can have stories for their kids. And that was a good come to God moment. And it was heartwarming to feel the peace of mind that it came once I finally gave up that anger. Finding the peace that it comes to understanding that, yeah, I've got a long road ahead of me, but there's hope. And so years go by. My kids are now getting old. They're all going on missions, and I get cancer. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, the crap, this is the unbeatable cancer. And at first, whenever you get that diagnosis of cancer, the pity train. I call them pity trains. You get that pity train, and so I jumped right back on that pity party, and
Hmm.
anger and all those emotions are healthy. You need to have those emotions. God gave us anger so we can understand joy, and so in that process of going through this, of getting diagnosis, finding a treatment, finding a place to give you treatment, I came across this oncologist. Man, this guy has the faith in the world, man. He's a little Indian dude, and he was something else, man. He could sell me sand in the Sahara Desert I would buy anything from him. But he had such a positivity about him that I couldn't help but to say, okay, well, I'm going to get better. I'm going to fight this thing. And so I started doing the chemo, and and after the chemo, I did 6 weeks of everyday radiation.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was a bit rough.
Yeah.
I'm still working. I going through all this. I still worked a full-time job, guys. I
Wow.
Yeah,
I
you
just
hadn't
kept on going.
retired yet, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I was not going to let my body win. And in
Hmm.
that process, by this time, I've picked up a hobby of riding bikes.
Hmm.
Riding bikes is an interesting thing because you can always tell yourself you're not going to lose. You're going to win. And that hill that's coming up against you, you say to yourself in your mind is, okay, I'm gonna race against my best time, and I'm gonna beat my best time up that hill. And halfway through that hill, you're thinking to yourself, oh crap, what did I sign myself up to? This hill's long, it's steep, and I'm running out of juice. You know, but you get that fortitude, and you say, oh God, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep on pedaling, and eventually at the top, you're over the hill, and you get the joys of going back down that hill at ridiculous speeds on a stupid bike. So,
So this might be a dumb question, but why biking versus running? I mean, just curiously.
well, I kind of look like this. Have you ever seen a runner with a happy face?
No. Except my son.
It's always pain to them. It's like, I don't see that you're having a good time. No.
That's
Wait
a
a
good
minute,
point.
Carl.
As
You're a
a
Swift,
mechanic, my
so
knees are shot, and I can't handle the pounding of the rig.
Sean,
So,
I can't stand running either. I don't know where he got it from, but it wasn't me.
I,
Do you want to know the crazy thing? I couldn't stand running at all either. I really like 90 feet was my limit. That's the length of a basketball court. That's all I'm going to run in. If I'm running past that, you should probably start running too.
that's still
But
your
like
limit.
well, dude, I'm doing like 3 miles a day now, and
Yeah.
it's like, and like Glenn's talking about, like you see something and you challenge yourself. You're like, I'm gonna hit it. I'm gonna hit this hill. I'm gonna get to the top. And midway up, you're going, what did I get into? What am I doing here? But like when you hit that top, like you said, it's like you won a thing, and Paul Bigler's giving us an award in church again.
yeah.
Well, Glenn, tell us too. You got involved, and I think you have quite a good support group down there. But tell us about your cycling friends. That yeah, I mean, how did you? I mean, how do you get involved with the community of cyclers if you're wanting to get into cycling? I'm kind of curious how you got in. I mean, you're really invested in that sport now, from what it sounds
Yeah, I
like.
got a ridiculously expensive bike out there that tell you what, if you're as cheap as I am and you buy an expensive bike, you go out and ride the bike just because it's sitting there. Because if I bought that stupid expensive bike, I'm going to ride the darn thing. I'm telling you that right here and now. So, funny thing is that really expensive bike has not made me a lick faster. I don't know how that happens, but
Isn't that how it always
I'm
goes?
still old. And
So do you race?
what's that?
Like, do you enter races also? Do you
I
enter
do. I
competitively
do.
races?
I do races, but they're more
That's
just
awesome, man.
geared towards me, my personal best.
Yeah.
Strava is an app that I use to gauge where I'm at as far as my goals and those around me. But cycling is really easy to get to. Most cycling shops have groups you can go join. with them. And they have different levels of beginners, intermediates, and the experts, and you can pick and choose where you go with those guys. It's really easy. I didn't do that route because I live in a fairly well-to-do area, and there's a lot of middle-aged men that like to wear Lycra and pedal their bikes insanely hours. So I just joined in with them. So we get.
Do you wear Lycra? Do you wear Lycra now? Because I remember
I am so sexy when it comes to that stuff. I don't know how my wife keeps her hands off me. I really don't. I mean,
I don't know how she does either. I mean, that's amazing, man. I can't.
I'm thinking about you right now, Glenn.
Where nobody can see me wearing my Lycra. How's that?
All right, I got one funny story. Glenn and we took a ballet class together for 2 weeks.
What?
Yeah. Well, we thought we were going to become better balanced in terms of basketball skills, right? You remember that, Glenn?
That's fair.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. And there was this one guy. He was an older dude, and he was wearing some really interesting clothing. So I can just imagine Glenn right now in his biking suit. So I'm glad you are scaring young men everywhere, Glenn. I appreciate that.
Just close your eyes.
Cycling is really easy. To move on.
Well, I had to tell that story. Yeah, it just came popping into my brain.
That's so funny.
So yeah, cycling's easy, and it's a fun sport. Like I'll go out and do about 100 miles a week.
Wow,
wow,
that is crazy. In the Arizona heat too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and start riding the bike at 4 in the morning. It's not so bad.
Wow.
The sun. The heat isn't as bad when the sun is down.
Yeah. As long as the sun's not glaring on you, you're okay.
Yeah.
But
so I remember being there
that early in the morning. You do get to see amazing sunrises. Just beautiful stuff coming up over the desert, just coming over the mountain range, the superstition there. Yeah. It's our mountain.
Now you've done some bike rallies then, or what are the events called in your sport?
They're usually called a tour of something or another.
Okay.
Tour Tucson, the Fall Classic. I've done St. George. I did a 100-mile in St. George. 100-mile Tucson, 100-mile here in
ride 100. How long does it take to go to ride 100 miles?
A little over 6 hours. You can average.
Wow.
Yeah, you can average about 19, 18 miles per hour on those bikes. So
I did
do you have like a? Do you have to like?
It took me 2 days.
2 days for 100 miles on a bike?
Kidding. I'm joking.
Okay.
Come on, Carl.
Well, no, Glenn, when you're doing one of these races, do you have a support person that follows you around, or do you just have to kind of work it out and figure it out over the 100
8
miles?
Stations. They put the 8 stations about every 30 miles.
It's just like running,
you
then.
Pull into there.
30 miles, though, man.
Yeah. Well, it's 40 miles between this and the next aid station. Right? You better not have a flat tire.
That's about 29
mile 32. I'm dead.
Yeah. So at the aid station, you'll have your water and your pickle juice and some snacks to refuel on if you want to stop. But,
does that pickle juice really work?
Yeah.
It does.
It does.
Ugh.
It does. It stops cramps. It tastes terrible.
It tastes terrible.
Horrible.
But at the time, I'm telling you, some of the best pickle juice I've ever had is on a bike ride when I was cramping really bad. I mean, I could have drowned a gallon of that stuff. That's your body reacts to what it needs. And
can you mix it with something to make it taste better?
That stuff, and it tasted great.
Oh.
Carl's asking if you can make a margarita with it.
Yeah. That's right, Sean.
Well, you're drinking it for the benefits is what you're drinking it for. Because, like you said, this stuff, it's amazing what it does.
It's a business idea for, all those aid stations, all those marathons. Hey, get your margarita pickle margarita juice, right? A little ice.
Moving on with the story, Carl. You go to the biking.
Yeah, let's go. Let's continue the story. I'm sorry, distract. Squirrel.
You guys are so all over the world. It's just something else. It's like,
You love
Hey,
us.
that's called podcast. You can do whatever you want on them. Anyway, go ahead, Glenn.
so I
Sorry
get
about
done
that.
with this. I get done with this chemo and this radiation, and it comes out that I beat cancer. I beat this unbeatable cancer. And you sit there and you think to yourself, how does that happen? And when you're just done of being bishop, everybody knows you in the ward. And I had primary children and adults and whatnot praying for me, and the support and the feel, the gratitude when it comes to that is what really pushed me forward. But the long gist of it is I never allowed myself to have huge mental breakdowns, huge pity parties. I understand. When you have this problem, you realize that every day is a gift. Every day. You wake up and you're breathing and you're sucking air no matter what happens during that day. Life is better than the alternative. And so when you get that attitude, you can do amazing things. You can see things that are much more important to you, and you can see things that are not important to you, and you have no desire to waste any energy towards that at all. And it kind of pinpoints you to understand that I'm given this gift and I need to accept it and magnify it. And so I make it a point, I talked about my kids is I can tell my kids, let me back up. I don't know if I could ever tell you one time my dad ever told me he loved me, but I knew that he did. But my kids know that I love them because I constantly am telling them. I'm around them, I hug them, I let them know I appreciate them, and I appreciate the adults that they've turned out to be. And but I got this cancer, and I had another come to God moment. I was mad again, and I was like, all right, God, I went to him the first time. I said, let me raise my kids and let me see them, let me see them graduate. But the second time it came around, and I was like, okay, God, I'm gonna ask for it again, dude. I want to be able to see my kids married. I want to be able to be there at their weddings. And you start looking at these big ticket items, Christmases and Mother's Days and Thanksgivings, and you just want to be around. So God came through for me again. He allowed me to beat an unbeatable cancer. And I went 4 years with that. And I'd go get scanned. It came back clean. And the whole 9 yards, it was amazing. But then in 2000 and what year was that, Kenlin? 21. I ended up getting a belly pain and stomach pain in my stomach again, and I sat there on the couch for a day. And the next day, Kenlin, my wife, she comes in and she says, "Look, you can either go to the hospital or you just need to leave, because I'm not going to watch you sit there and be in this much pain anymore." And I was like, "Yes, ma'am." So I finally, unmanned up. I was manning up through the pain. It's time to accept the challenge of your wife. And I went to the emergency room, and they did a bunch of tests, and I think I was passing a gallstone. But in the process of that, they caught the cancer growing again. And boy, that one rocked my world. By that time, my kids had been grown, and they all have been married, and they've been through the temple. And I was out of bargaining chips with God, and I sat there, and I just like, all right, if this is it, this is it, and I'm okay with that. But I got that amazing oncologist. He's like, oh yeah, we'll start chemo, and so we started chemo. And I did chemo for 6 months, and it wasn't doing anything. It stopped the growth, but the size was still there of the tumor. And at that time, they didn't think I could do radiation again. I'd received so much radiation prior to that they're afraid that more radiation would just shut the liver down. But I got a hold of a radiologist. He got a hold of his people in actually Houston. And they talked back and forth, and they came up with a really with the realization that I could have radiation. That was a huge blessing because at that point I was completely without options. The the ward held a fast for me, and fasting and prayer. Again, great ward members, great friends, great people around me, praying for my health, and that's a lot of. I mean, if I have to say anything, that's what's kept me around is the faith of other people praying and making me want to be better. But I got onto radiation, and the radiologist, he's an LDS dude, and I was talking with him about it, and I says, "Yeah, I'm hoping for a miracle here on this radiation." And he says, "Glenn, you've already seen a miracle." I've never talked to anybody who's had this cancer alive 4 years later. And I'm like, okay, that's a little humbling, It's like, okay. So I go through this radiation again, and sure enough, guys, I beat it again. I'm in remission again, and I come up. It's been about a year since my last treatment, but it's just truly amazing that the will to survive and my faith in God has allowed me to be here today. Because it's like I said, Tawani is not here anymore. He was a great man, and he had a great family behind him, and he didn't get these blessings that I got. People going down the freeway who die on the freeway or some mishap and they're gone within a day. They don't get the opportunity that I have had to raise my kids, to make sure my wife is taken care of, to enjoy just the knowledge that my kids know them. And now that I have 9 grandchildren, Carl mentioned I started out early in life. I can't believe how amazing that was, because I did start out. I was a 19-year-old dad, and by the time I was 27, I had 4 kids, and it has been a blessing because now I get the fruits of my oldest granddaughter is 9 now. So it's amazing to me that now they know that their grandpa, their Bubba, is a complete dweeb.
I'm jealous.
Who likes
I'm
to party.
Still waiting for my first.
He'll take them out water skiing and wakeboarding and do all the fun stuff with them, and they can understand their personality. All that derives of my knowing my leaving an impact in life with these kids, all stems from the Hammonds. The Hammonds' mom passed away before any of those Diane or Paul knew their mom very well, and they were raised by their dad.
I don't even remember her. Yeah, I don't remember her at all.
But my mom does, and she says she was a really neat lady. But the kids didn't know her, and I didn't want that in my life. So, anyways, I beat cancer again. I'm doing well. I've got a lot of issues. This last round of chemo and radiation really has beat me up pretty bad. And I've got a whole slew of complications afterwards. And so every day is a bit of a battle, but we did something smart, and we got my wife into school. We put Glynn into school. She's got her master's degree. She's an occupational therapist. And right now I have a sugar mama. It's plain and simple.
I love it.
I don't have to fix cars anymore. I do what I want to do, and we rely on her income, but we were smart. We didn't overinvest. Everything is paid off. We are completely debt free, and she's going to be in a good situation for when I am not around. I was talking with Laura Woodford, the other day. She happened to text me right when I just got done being in the hospital again. And she's like, "Why do you keep on doing all this? What is your motivation?" And the reality is I want to be around for the big events still. I still want to be able to. My second granddaughter got baptized the other day, and I was there for it.
Wow.
And I want to be around for the Christmases. I want to be around for Sunday night dinners at my table and playing games. and I'm not afraid of death. If I die tomorrow, there's nothing wrong with me. I've done everything I wanted to do in life. I've jumped out of airplanes. I scuba dive. I ride bikes all the time. I've done a lot of my bucket list. They're done. But the reality is I don't know how much time I have left, and if it's a couple of years, it's a couple of years. But my wife was the most important thing to me, and keeping her and making sure she's set up to be able to take care of herself. Done, and so again, I know where
Not a
I'm
lot of
going.
people get to do
I
that.
just don't want to leave the other people behind. That's where I want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the hardest part, is leaving people behind. But
Yeah.
Well, you're a very, very loved person, Glenn. People in Arizona, your neighbors, I can attest that Glenn's neighbors love him, and Glenn, we love you.
Yeah, we do, Glenn. You know that.
So
You've been a
yeah,
we should. I think that's been a lot of heavy stuff. I think we ought to share some stories about Glenn that'll make people laugh.
no,
Well,
I tried to. I
This
got
isn't-
shut down.
this is not abuse Glenn as the guest here. I
Who
mean,
said
Well,
Yeah.
before we do
you
that,
want
Sean,
more
I just
guests
wanted
to
to
come
ask.
onto this show, which you desperately need. You can't be bringing them out their skeletons out of the closet.
Hey, Sean, before we go to that, which I agree with you, we should talk to a little bit about some fun stories from the past. But Glenn, one thing I've read a few, and maybe I'm kind of weird, but I've read a few NDEs, near-death experience stories. And one thing that just listening to you for the last half hour, do you feel that your perspectives changed dramatically from the time that you ended being a bishop and all the way to today? During that period of time, has your view of life or why we're here changed in a fundamental way? And it sounds like that's kind of the way you live your life, though, as far as every day's a blessing. But is there any more to that you can expand on that I didn't?
Not necessarily. I think I pretty much covered it. That I
Okay.
don't live my life any different than I did 20 years ago.
Okay.
I understood then that every day is a gift and that we need to treat it as that. And that doesn't mean you can't have bad days. Not everybody's going to have have a great day. People, whether you're struggling with relationship issues or you're struggling with health issues, you're struggling financially, those are hard struggles. And those are hard trials in your life. And not every bargaining chip that I did is going to be answered. And so I think if you just leave yourself open to accept God's will, per se, and just appreciate what He's given you so much, because it is so easy to treat life like this sucks. Why me? What is going on? Why do I have to go through this again? It's just it's hard to live life like that in the negativity. I refuse to do that because it takes energy that I don't want to give it. So I look at the positive and I said, what can I do today? One of my biggest fears is just existing. I don't want to exist. I want to be an impact on somebody or my wife, my family's life, or somebody's life around me every day. I want to be that positive person.
Well, you certainly left a mark for me in terms of an example, and I appreciate it, Glenn. You're, I don't know. I don't think I could have done as well as you going through what you've done in the
Don't say
last
that. You
few
don't know
years. I don't know that, but it's just your story's remarkable, and I do respect and appreciate what you've gone through, and it's a great example to the rest of us. Because we're all going to have these obstacles coming up in our lives eventually.
Yeah, we all are.
What I find incredible is, we read a book or we see, like a Hallmark movie, with people that have similar stories that that you've had, and like to know somebody like yourself that has gone through this, that you and I haven't talked for years and stuff, but I still feel a personal touch with you. You're still a close friend to me. Um, but the thing that I hear over and over in you talking is, you found purpose. You found new purpose. Where very easily, as you mentioned, you were upset, wondering why. You could have easily given up, which I think a lot of people do. A lot of people say, you know what, that's it, I'm done. Throw in the towel and make your way out. But you shifted your thoughts and found a purpose and said, no, I'm not ready to go yet. I need to have this. I need to make sure this is taken care of. And you set a purpose. It's interesting because I don't think people realize how much control we really have in ourselves. You can wake up in the morning and you could say, "Oh God, it's Monday again." You know what? And you know what? Your whole Monday is just crap. Or you could wake up in the morning and say, "God, it's Monday. What a great night's sleep I had." And it changes your whole perspective. It changes the whole way you view everything. And that's what you did. You could have said, "I hate this. I'm done. This is it. Everybody hates me. The world is over. Blah." But you're like,
People are trying to tell me how I'm
no,
supposed to
man.
think.
Yeah. And that's what's so incredible. Like, I don't know. And I can't put myself in your shoes. I can in a way where I think you're very competitive. You have to be competitive after everything you've done because you look at everything now as a progress and a challenge. But I think after hearing that I had this same cancer again for the second time, I would have been like, you know what? I've beaten this before.
Yeah.
I've defied odds before. I'm not going to allow people to tell me this is unbeatable
Yeah.
because you have proven not once, but
Hmm.
twice
Or is it three
that
times?
you
I'm kind
can't.
of confused.
Twice.
Twice. Okay.
Well,
Yep.
And
let's
so,
not make it a third time.
just amazing, bud. I mean, just an amazing
I
story. I
appreciate
love
that.
you, Glenn. I really do, man. It's just
Yeah.
absolutely incredible.
Great story.
What you got, Sean?
Well, Sean, you have stories. I can tell they're bursting out of you. Tell us a story about Glenn that Brett and I might not have heard down up here while you've been down in Arizona with him.
Golly, I gotta say, one of the great blessings in my life has been being here around Glenn. I've had a lot of opportunity to have lunch with him. We've gone boating together. It's Glenn's just a great friend, and anybody who knows Glenn, knows that he's a great friend. He's wonderful. So he now we we're both, well, we're not both busy, but I'm wicked busy with work, and I have a hard time um, getting time to do a lot of stuff. But Glenn still makes time for me, and he comes and we have a Philly cheesesteak every once in a while together at a place not far from where I work,
Yeah,
and
we got the place down here in Phoenix. They know how to make a Philly cheesesteak. I'm telling you.
they're as
I
good
need
as
to come back
anything.
down again soon.
They're as good as anything I've ever had in Philadelphia. So
Really?
yeah,
It'd be as good as
as
Philly?
good as anything I ever had in Philly. Yep,
What's the name of the place?
Forefathers?
Forefathers. Yeah, had to think for a
Oh,
second.
next time I'm down there, I'm coming. We're all going.
Yeah,
Brent, you need to come to. We all four of us need to go
We gotta
golfing
come
down
on
to
down,
Phoenix.
man. I
Yeah.
Last time I was in Phoenix was for the 20th um, anniversary of Mark's death. That was the last time I was down there, and Sean and I went out, but I kind of just spent a lot of time over there at the cemetery. But I would love to hook up with everybody down there. Come down and
come down.
spend a weekend down there, and I'm down for some Philly cheesesteaks anytime. I
Yeah.
have to let Carl be the true determining factor if that's good or not, because I think he spent the most time in Philly.
Yes.
But
Yeah, that's been a while.
So a funny thing about Glenn is when we were kids, and this may have been before you came to the neighborhood, Carl, but
back in the good days.
back in the good days, we so Glenn and I don't remember if we had class together or what, but we would be out in recess together all the time. And for whatever reason, Glenn thought it was fun to just go, not really go play, like most kids want to go swing on the swings or whatever. Glenn just wanted to go run like a gazelle or something. And he would grab me and he'd say, okay, let's go run, Sean. And I could never keep up with his long legs. And so Glenn he'd say, okay, I'll hold your hand and my speed will go into your body. So we would go running around the playground holding hands.
I'm holding his hand. Sean's like flailing in the wind. We're Glenn!
Think of a cartoon.
You know this is going to be the preview video, Sean. I hope you realize this.
Yeah, I know.
Sean and Glenn just prancing around.
This was before, it was socially acceptable.
It's all about the draft. You got to catch the draft just right. And so you use 30% less energy by drafting than by yourself. So
I think that's just a biking thing. I don't think that was real. I don't think that happened when we were running.
Doesn't go with holding hands, Glenn.
Maybe it's good I missed that.
Just can you imagine?
I probably would have moved back to the old neighborhood after that.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, do you guys remember this? And I don't know if I can show this on the camera or not. It's not going to show. But do you remember being in primary class, and I swear it was probably Larry Gunn that started this, because he was always trouble, not us kids at all.
Oh, Larry, troublemaker.
Of all of us,
we kind of whispered to each other, and we were saying, like, we're going to count to 3 in our heads, and we have one leg folded over our right leg, and we're going to count to 3, and then we're all going to shift and change legs, and just constantly count 1 to 3, and switch our legs back 1, 2, 3. We were like in complete synchronicity, all of us in the class, folding our legs back and forth.
Hey,
we ended up seeing the bishop after that, but
well, that's
speaking of teachers, who was the one that lived by Sean?
Ray.
She had red hair, and
Richards.
We terrorized the
Richards.
the poor lady. Oh my goodness, we were a terrible.
Right.
Are you talking about the old lady at the Dobermans?
Is that it?
Yeah, that was
her name was Richards.
Yeah, no.
Or was it Richards?
Faye Good. What was her name? What's her last name?
Oh,
They lived
Goodman.
across the street from me.
Yeah.
Oh,
Goodman.
We got called in the
we
bishop's
were-
office that one too. We tried to run her out of the classroom.
More than
We're
once.
little hellions.
We got in a lot of trouble.
Hey, there's not many times my mom whooped my ass, but we made her cry, and my mom whooped my ass.
Yeah.
Like, how could you make her cry?
Yeah.
It's like,
So Glenn, do you remember when my dad bought the boxing gloves
Oh yeah.
and you whacked
We used to beat
Eddie
the tar out
Branham
of each other
so
in the
hard?
backyard.
Yeah, you whacked that same night, the night that he brought him out. You and Eddie were sparring. Old Eddie Branham. I don't know if anybody remembers him. And all of a sudden, Glenn, just wham! Right into the nuts. I mean, just hard. And Eddie goes down. And Eddie's a pretty tough guy, right? He's into the martial arts crap. Thinks he's like whatever that dude's name is, the martial arts guy. Yeah, Bruce Lee. Dude, I don't think he moved for about 5 minutes. I was just like, "Are you okay, Eddie? Eddie?
do you know who he reminds me of? Do you know who Eddie Brennan reminded me of? Do you remember the Bad News Bears and the kid with the long hair? That's who he reminded me of.
Yeah. Yeah. Eddie was a character, I'll say
Eddie
that.
has twin girls, so he died.
Oh, wow. Good.
He died several years ago, but yeah.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Several
I know he
years.
ended up in prison for a while, or jail or something, didn't he?
Yeah.
He
found a rough stretch, but he has 2 girls, twins. So I didn't wreck his world completely with that punch. So
Yeah, you didn't. We were worried.
I got the wingspan of a monkey, guys. It's not my fault.
You
I went
do,
for an
man.
uppercut, and it was just right there.
I wasn't wanting any of Glenn after that. I wanted to fight Eddie, but not Glenn. I was like,
120 pounds of redheaded fury coming your way.
That's funny.
I think didn't you try to wrestle me right after my mission? And I was just like, holy cow, this guy's like a big piece of molten wire. Yeah, skinny, but just Glenn's a tough dude. You wrestled for how many years for Cypress High School?
Well, I lost
a
lot of matches in Cypress High School, yes. Wrestling wasn't my thing.
Unless it was whooping on Carl.
Parents were too poor to put me in football, so.
Well, that makes sense now why you wanted to whoop my butt all the time, so it make you feel good about yourself. Okay, I got it.
That's funny. Glenn, do you remember?
Probably want to whoop your butt because you made him go to a ballerina class.
That was a good story. That's a great story. Anyway.
Great story. Hey, Glenn, do you remember? Do you remember the time that you and I were riding around? This is actually, now that I'm thinking about it, this is a little bit like running around holding your hand. But we were riding your motorcycle.
What an impression I made on this poor kid.
You had a motorcycle.
Right. Starting to worry about Sean.
Scarred for
we have a transition coming.
I just did what Glenn told me. Anyway, we were riding around on this motorcycle, and I'm on the back of the motorcycle. You're on the front. You're driving.
Yeah.
And we come up towards your house, and your mom comes out like a pit bull, starts getting a little bit upset with us and yelling at us for getting ourselves killed.
Yeah.
Well, it was
Doreen
moments.
If you think about it,
Doreen
two
was a
idiots
nice
on a
lady.
motorcycle riding around Salt Lake City together with
No
no insurance.
Yeah, no helmet on either of us. Your mom was scary but loving.
Yeah.
I always liked Doreen. She was always nice to me.
I love Doreen.
Sean, you're just a reprobate. That's why she worried about you. She's like the grandma on Friday Night Lights. She didn't like you.
You know what? I would go over to her house and she would feed me peanut butter sandwiches. So she liked me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this has been awesome, guys. It's been nice to get back together again. Truly inspiring story, Glenn. I know we appreciate you coming on and helping us out today.
Like any of our friends here, I don't know, what do you have? 3 people that listen to this podcast now? So
there's 4.
Three.
There's 4.
Four.
Yeah, 4 with you now.
Okay.
Yeah, you made 4.
Yeah. Maybe you'll listen to this episode. I hope, Glenn. We're watching.
If all 4 of you have any questions at all, I'd be glad to chat with you, whether text or phone call, whatever. I've got a lot more stuff I could throw into that story, but it's only an hour long, so I admitted a lot of stuff, but nonetheless, it's all good. It's like I said, as long as you can remember that life is good and that every day is a gift from God, then you're doing all right.
Do you mind if I use that for the title of our episode? Every day is a gift from God. I like that.
I'm telling you, man, you need to hit the motivational speaker circuit, man.
Yeah, dude.
It's like I'm telling you, like
where I went to high school at.
Listen to these things.
I'm not the most eloquent person in the world.
Even better, man.
You did a great job.
Though,
you
man.
did a great job today.
I'm telling you, like, if more people could hear your story, it would make this world a better place. It really would. It just.
Sorry.
Yeah, in a world filled with so much jealousy and tearing people down and division and kind of what I was talking about this when we began the podcast, dude, I feel 100% better listening to you than how I was feeling at the beginning of this podcast, because you bring so much positivity, and really I think you bring hope in a world that feels like there's no hope inside of it whatsoever. Mm-hmm. You show that, there is hope. You control that hope. You have to go get that hope and live with it and accept it.
Yep.
And it's just incredible. I would pay to hear you talk on stage. I honestly would.
I would too. No, Glenn, don't short yourself. That was a great story.
Money from.
I'll pay that $50, buddy, and then we'll go grab some Philly cheesesteaks or
There
something,
you
you
go.
Hey, and you brought up our small audience, but we do have a loyal audience, and we appreciate each one of them. And by the way, Will, if you like this episode, and we would really appreciate the support, please on Spotify or on Apple, leave a review. Tell us how we did. It helps spread it outside our little community from Trail Avenue and share it with the rest of the world. Because I think what Glynn talked about today can help a lot of different people throughout this world. And that message of hope Brent's talking about, something that clearly we need to hear more of day to day. And so I appreciate each one of you guys. You've been good friends, and I think we have a good thing we're doing. And so we'll have this podcast up Sunday night. And anyway, appreciate you guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Anything else you want to add before we sign off?
I'm good. It's nice to see
All right.
Thank you, Glenn. Thank you so much, man.
We love you, buddy.
Yeah,
So
thanks,
good to
guys.
see you,
We
bud.
love you, buddy. Adios.
All right, everybody.
Okay, we'll end it right
Thanks
there.
for joining.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
thank you, guys.
leave your apps open, especially Glenn and Sean. Sean,
Yeah, I'm gonna
yours
I'm gonna
is-
hang up right now and just let it go.
Yeah, just let it go. Okay,
There
see you, Sean.
Bye, Sean.
All right.
Bye, buddy. Come get a cheesesteak.
Bye.
Damn it.
Okay, I'm going to stop the